Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Last Chance Radio with David Benjamin. How are you tonight? I am grateful and glad that you are here. How are you? Can you see what we're going to work on tonight? The ascension of the first global oligarchist king, or Vlad in Wonderland. Wow. Isn't that special? He's a special kind of person riding around bareback on them horses. We were talking about Arkansas. Never mind. Just making fun of people for no apparent reason. Welcome to the show. And we do have a pretty jammed up, crammed up show, and I've got a lot to show you. So we're gonna have to get right into it. There is for the last couple of days. Let me see if I can explain that. The last couple of days, I've had this weird impression that Putin was up to something with metals. Now, again, whenever I tell you about somebody else, I like to tell you a little bit about myself first, so that it kind of you might get the idea of where my thoughts come from in this, and pretty much you're not interested in where my thoughts come from as long as they're good and right, which is fair. I appreciate that. But the thing is, I have traded metals in the past, a little bit of gold and silver. I've never been really big into platinum or palladium. Just because they've always been kind of those outside the realm metals or outside of the norm. But the thing that's really amazing about metals is that they do hold their price. And even though there's a bunch of really slimy people in the metal business, if you do it right, and actually I hope I can... There's somebody I'd like to talk to about actually helping the show out a little bit, because I do actually use their service. And their service is hardassets.alliance.com, hardassets.alliance.com. And I personally use their service. And it lets me buy and store gold and silver in different places in the United States or overseas for pickup anywhere, anytime. But aside from the commercials, I'm going right into it. Vlad the Impaler, as I love to call him, because he just reminds me of that. Right now, okay, today, right now, he is outlawing Bitcoin for use in the Russian Federation. Simultaneously, he is making Norilsk Nickel's cryptocurrency, this new crypto, the only legal crypto for use in the Russian Federation. Think about that for a second, my friends. And as I always like to welcome you to Last Chance Radio, to my repetitive listeners and my friends, welcome to the Jedi Roundtable of Intelligence Gathering. And I appreciate you being here, as always. So, what I was going to talk about, what I am going to talk about, and we're going to get right to it, like I said, is the coronation of the next king of the criminal 007 world. Think about this for a second. When we watch 007 movies, they always come up with a worldwide entity, Black Widow, the dark poisoner of something, Well, these people are getting close to that, and I'll tell you what, old Vladimir Putin creating his own cryptocurrency, he could easily ascend that throne. Like I write here, and you can watch with me and you can see what I'm reading here. The coronation of the first global criminal king is not too far in our collective futures. That's an awful lot of power to assume one man can acquire and gather into his own throne. That much power into a single globalist crime family, where perhaps the intended meaning of Sodom and Gomorrah could actually come true. The potential for this becoming a reality now lies before us. And I wonder, will we remain in our comfort bubbles? And that's something we're going to talk about tonight, too. This comfort bubble thing that I'm seeing appear before us is extraordinarily troubling. But we'll come back to that. But we like our little bubbles because they're safe and warm and more feely better than the alternate, which is to figure out a way to define, confine, and reel in these incredibly difficult people to fathom. Not just the audacity of the plan, but to discuss the people involved. And that is not a propagandist hit piece or a deep state conspiracy emulator prize winner for the most double and triple dimensionally beyond the pale endeavor of the most sinister minds since the origin of 007's James Bond world of global villains. That's where we are. Think about that for a minute, man. Like, when we were kids, there was no chance that any of those people would ever become real figures in the world. We always looked at them and said, yeah, I get it. But now, they're actually going to become these real entities. And this is not a fictional, deep state, blah, blah, blah story. This is an absolutely real, in the works, as I speak to you now. He is making one kind of cryptocurrency illegal while he makes another one legal. And the one he's making legal, he has a lot of control and power over. Okay? We were talking a little bit about the comfort bubble. And before I move on off into other things, I want to hit on this a little bit, and we'll talk about it some more at the same time too. But it's going to be something that we're going to have to deal with, and we might as well deal with it now rather than later. And what I'd like to show you is some of these things right here. And what this is this was brought, actually I brought it off the internet from YouTube, and this was from a video that Putin had put out when he was overflying a base, right? And outside of there was MiGs out here. That's actually yeah, you can see the tail right there of one of the MiGs. But so they're playing this on Rupley, which we know flat out, and it's totally admitted, is Russian Times propaganda network, right? Now, if you go down from that and you look, these are the kinds of comments you're seeing. Don't know why, I just love this man. He is so brilliant. Now, I'm going to go down some of these. Scroll down some of these. Because I want you to see what these are real people. Great leader. West could learn a thing or two. The real 007. Putin escorts fighters. I requested this service on my last flight. Great leader. This should seriously throw some cold water in your faces. And this is what I'm talking about with the safety bubble and the feel-good bubble and all that bubble. But we're in a bubble, folks. And I am a left-winger, if you don't know that by now. But the point is that we're all sitting on Twitter talking to each other, feeling great. We're going to beat Donald Trump. And, man, he doesn't have a chance, et cetera, et cetera. Except when you go and look up all this stuff. Because I choose to step outside of my little comfort bubble and see what's going on in the world and what people are saying outside of our comfort bubble. There's a lot of people out there who want Trump to continue. No joking. No joking whatsoever. It's a real thing. And we had better wake up and get out of our comfort bubble and pay attention and stop feeling like, oh, we got this. No, we don't have this. And if you guys don't start doing something, we're going to end up with him for another 4 years. That, my friends, is painful. Think about that. The next thing I'm going to bring up to you here, and it's of course tied to him as well, and we're going to have to start focusing on him and his GRU and the rest of his intelligence apparatus that goodness knows where he may be running it from these days, off some, off some island somewhere. Uh, but they're already at it. They are already at the divide and conquer and the creation of conversations that lead to cannibalism amongst ourselves. And like I'm telling you, if we don't get smarter, we're going to get outflagged, outflanked, whatever you want to call it, again. And we're going to be really unhappy. So I'm telling you, figure out ways to make yourself smarter about sources of news and information on the internet, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, wherever you go. Okay? You have to know where this stuff is coming from. Otherwise, you just lay yourself wide open to just be taken advantage of and made a fool of. And, oh, I'll believe whatever some person, sitting in a bathing suit in some beach somewhere tells me to think. Okay? Now, let's let's get it together, folks. I appreciate you starting to think about this. It's important. Meanwhile, let me tell you what Vlad the Impaler is up to right now. Besides the fact that he's outlawing one cryptocurrency and making another the only one you can use, this is what he is up to and how he is going to stabilize or destabilize the world economy based on I don't know what, but based on his choices. I don't want him making choices for me because I don't think many of the choices he would make for me would be really good. But what he is doing is he's creating cryptocurrency that is palladium pegged, which means it is backed by an actual metal, palladium. And that's why I started out the show talking about metals for a minute. He is going to do this with Norilsk Nickel, one of the largest companies in the world for the production of palladium. The crypto exchange for tokens is backed by commodities, is a scenario where you have gold, silver, diamonds, you name it, something that's precious and held is a commodity. The metal magnates, intrigued by Vitalik, and now works with Hyperledger, which is an IBM program and designed scenario. And let's not forget something about our friends over at IBM, because I'm certainly not going to forget it. Do you guys remember during World War II, there were numbers on the arms of some of the Jewish prisoners? Do you know where those numbers came from? They came from IBM. The idea was to number all these people to keep track of them and then use the newest punch card computer system that they had just developed. And we're going to use the people that were in these camps as their test subjects. And did. They didn't were, they did. There are a lot of companies that had associations with the Third Reich, that you should know about, like Hugo Boss. You know the black uniforms that the SS wore? Those were made by Hugo Boss. How many of you know that? There's a lot of things we got to start catching up on, my friends, and I'm here to tell you about it, and I'm going to help you. But I need you to help yourselves too. God helps those who help themselves, right? CoinDesk reports that one of Russia's richest men, an oligarch, Vladimir Putin, plans to come up with a token backed palladium coin and launch an exchange for trading those coins pegged on the commodities. Details from Putin's interview. The new coin by Norilsk will be launched on Hyperfabric with the help of IBM. And presently, the company and IBM especially is working with different global regulators to get the coin approved. One of the things that we need to also discuss are some of the things that are coming up as we look through the scenarios that are presenting themselves through people like this. Okay? Putin is not only uh, taking charge of mines and doing palladium and creating crypto coin, while we're down and wasting our time with somebody in the White House that just does not have a clue as how to play chess. This guy is playing chess even if we're not sitting at the table. Okay? And he's going to do his best to change the game in favor of the Russians. Now, can I blame him for this? How could I possibly blame this guy for doing for his country? I can't, and I don't. He's a patriot. Just like, we have patriots in our country. The only thing is, we seem to have gotten into this thing where we chase our tails more than we chase the bad guys. This is also from Yahoo Finance, again having to do with the oligarchs involved in this Norilsk cryptocurrency deal. TSG or TSG TGS Group sold 150 million of its global depository receipts, GDRs, something I just learned about last couple days. And these people, and one of the important ones is Roman Abramovich. He's one of the more important ones because I think I saw him connected to Genie Energy or through the Shabbat House of Long Island, but he's definitely not a floating entity out in space. He's connected. The Tinkoff guy I haven't heard so much about, but I'm sure we can, our group of Jedi warriors out here, we can look them up and see who's who. Let's do that. The thing that I found interesting about this is how they were talking about at the end of here. They say offloaded some of their prospective stakes in their companies through accelerated book building deals, which investment bankers said demonstrates continued global interest in certain Russian assets despite sanctions and challenging business environment in the country. What does that mean? What that means is these guys are selling some of their assets so they can buy into the Norilsk cryptocurrency, and that despite the fact that the United States has been threatening sanctions, they still feel strong enough and good enough that they did liquidate some of those assets and bought in. Okay? Now, they're saying a lot of people who are buying some of these original released coins are British-based investors, and we should find out who they are too, and we should find out a lot more about all of this. I wanted to tell you a lot more about this tonight, and I think I've got off to a good start, and perhaps we'll pick this up again next time. But for now, I'd like your help. I'd like you to please go to lastchanceradio.com and check out um, check out our website and drop in your email if you don't mind. We don't hand out people's emails to other people. We don't do that. It's just for us. And eventually, what we'll be doing is we'll be on multiple platforms, and I'll be able to keep in touch with you across those multiple platforms. So it'd be really awesome if we do that. Get ahead of the curve. Get ahead of the problem now. Look at old Vlad the Impaler looking out the window. It's kind of a dead look, like I don't want to go too far. It was like a soulless. Uh, I don't know, but I'm going to leave it there, folks. And I just wanted to thank you for tuning in tonight and leave you with a good thought, and that is good men only get nowhere if they do nothing. Have a good night. I'm David Benjamin. This is Last Chance Radio.